Alright, so hello, I am Fallen Ultima, and on the couch I have Genesis. He mainly
Hello.
runs.
I played this game too much.
And so I will be running Rise of the Tomb Raider on any percent. I'm just gonna beat it as fast as possible. Okay, so we ready?
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, there we go.
Off to the races.
Perfect start. Ignore that first moment.
What makes
Don't worry, we'll take it out of the
reach
VOD
beyond the boundaries of
Alright, so yeah, I am running on console. There are a few differences between console and PC. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first, we're going to break this game quite quickly. So after we break the game, then we'll talk a little bit more about that. But so yeah, we get a lot of time out of bounds in this game.
Hey! Even if we don't find anything up here,
about to do is one of the hardest ones in the entire game.
I know,
It happens right at the beginning.
but I have a good feeling about
At least
this.
you're knocking it out early.
So this area is basically just an intro, you know, how to climb walls and how to mantle over ledges.
Lost my footing.
So we're gonna skip that.
Yeah, we're pro gamers. We don't need the tutorial.
Alright, Laura says I'll just climb back up, and that's exactly what I'll do. First by taking this leap of faith.
No! It's too dangerous!
I'm just going whoops.
I can climb back up!
Alright, and we're out of bounds.
Just stay put!
So there's going to be a lot of this in the game. Just kind of Laura spazzing out, climbing up rocks and stuff.
So what he just did was called a skywalk, and it pretty much, if you're going down a slope fast enough, you can actually remove Lara's downwards momentum and then just go along walls that you shouldn't be able to go along. And you're able to use that to get very far out of bounds.
Yeah, there'll be a few more skywalks in the run. And I'll definitely point them out before I get to them, because they're pretty cool. They're one of the staples in the reboot games.
Skywalks are one of the best parts, unless you're playing 2013. In 2013, they're a nightmare. I don't know what it was about 2013, but it was just, in that game, skywalks are super difficult to do and really hard to control.
Okay, so we're at the end of this out of bounds. So we're at the end. I'm going to fall back in bounds very carefully. Alright, and the game could crash right here. Oh, I didn't get the crash. No way.
Wow, lucky.
Okay, so yeah, there is a chance that the game can crash right there, but it's okay. As a community, we can break the unwritten rule of speedrunning and pause. Just because we don't really know why it occurs and a way to prevent it. So we're just like, yeah, we'll just pause. So
And usually we judge games based on the in-game timer, so it's not usually a big deal to pause there. So.
yeah, that's kind of the difference between console and PC. So on console, we time it RTA plus the pause if you need to. But if you're running on PC, you're doing RTA minus loads.
Also known as in-game time.
Yeah, correct. So that was pretty much the intro. We're just running away from this very slow-moving avalanche. It looks like it's coming quickly, but
Get the shelter!
it for some reason takes forever to actually get here.
Yeah, at that speed it should be upon her in about 10 seconds. After she goes away, it should be upon her by the time she does this jump. She should be top of the avalanche.
Yep, and it's still back there, but you know.
But of course, she totally just has plot armor, so she's totally fine.
Oh, not gonna press X. Gonna fall. Gonna fall. Just kidding.
Haha, psyched the game out. He thought he was gonna die, but then he just wasn't dead.
Okay, And that's the intro. Very fast and exciting. I guess we could talk about a little bit of the differences between PC and console. So the overall route is the same, but there are some limitations to what I can do just because of frame rate differences. So on PC, I believe the frame cap is 100% or 100 frames.
Yes, if you're doing a glitched run on PC, it is a mandatory requirement to cap your FPS at 100 in order to prevent people with super high-end systems from getting an unfair advantage.
And on console, the game only runs at 30 FPS, so there are some limitations that I can't do that PC runners can do. But again, the overall route is the same. I'll just have to be getting out of bounds a little bit differently than what the PC runners would do.
You'll see a lot of those differences when I do 100% tomorrow, actually. About 24 hours from now.
And actually, I already did a console difference. That first skywalk that I did, PC runners don't actually do that. They do some sort of like weird exit to menu, and they're able to like walk across the sky.
We do what's called an airwalk at that point. We're able to, by exiting to menu, it gives us the opportunity to convince the game that we're not grabbing onto the ledge when it loads us back in, so we're able to effectively roll over standing on nothing, and the game for some reason gives us a ground to roll on. As long as we keep rolling, we don't fall into the oblivion. So it's weird. Airwalks, skywalks, they don't make sense.
So anyways, I'll point out some of the route changes when I get to them. There aren't that many, but I'll definitely point them out. So they're also with skywalks. And in this game, we have wall clips, which is another kind of staple. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You literally just clip through a wall. And there's going to be a ton of those.
A secret entrance.
So, unfortunately, not a ton of skywalks, but there are a ton of wall clips. So that's good. And unfortunately, this is my least favorite part of the run. It's kind of boring, to be honest. There are a few things we can do to speed it up. Like, for instance, coming up, I'm gonna try to avoid a cutscene. It's only like a 7-second long cutscene. But if I'm able to stop moving after, not this jump, but this jump right here, I'm able to jump underneath the cutscene trigger so I can skip it. So just small little things here and there in this section. Nothing major.
The Order of Trinity pursued the Prophet and his people.
Yeah, so for some reason, we don't know why that cutscene trigger is just in the air rather than attached to the ground. Because I guess they expect you to jump into it. They don't want people jumping over it. But yeah, we can just go underneath it. Saves 7 seconds.
Now the scariest part of the game.
Get ready for some jump scares. Not as scary as Wicked Veil, though. That jump scare was like, when I first saw that original Wicked Veil jump scare, oh my god. Like,
is it as scary as this magical scorpion that just appears out of midair? Did you see that? That's
oh, you have a flying scorpion?
Yeah, it just appears out of midair. That's the
scary. No, that's not a flying scorpion. Wait, let's see if you have a flying scorpion. Is the run blessed? Oh, your run isn't blessed with flying scorpions.
Nah, but that scorpion always appears just out of thin air.
Yeah, for some reason the developers just like to make things appear out of thin air rather than actually having them exist. For some reason.
There was a battle here. Armed
I don't know, it's
soldiers
strange.
against religious pilgrims. The Order of Trinity.
You said you're not doing the trap, right?
No, that's too inconsistent.
Too close.
If you're wondering why I'm jumping and scrambling, kind of, because that's currently the fastest mode of transportation I have. It's faster than just regular sprinting. I have amazing aim.
Oh my god, that's painful.
You'll see how good I can aim when we get to some combat sections. Just you wait.
See, that's painful only because I do that same thing too many times in this section. So I know that feeling of just like, oh man, a full clip just gone.
Okay, so coming up is the only moment in the run where I actually use an audio cue to do a trick. And I'm going to be attempting to do a super jump. And this is literally the only trick I hope I get in the run, because this trick is pretty dank. So I really hope I get it. If I miss it, whatever. I just don't save 5 seconds. But I'll go flying across the map if all goes well.
Well, hopefully not across the entire map, but some of it. I mean, if we could just sail to the end of the map from this one super jump, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, it's not that good of a trick.
I did it.
Stunning.
Alright.
Ah, nice.
You made it, Dad.
I can end the run. That was so good.
Over. All right, done. World record. We're finished. Rise any percent. We're now done. We can stop the timer.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is, this room is basically a water puzzle. You're supposed to raise the water, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to jump on this very small... There we go.
This is one of the reasons I don't. This is one of the reasons I don't do console. This one trick, I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's not fun to do.
Have you tried doing the alternate method?
It's
Where,
worse.
really?
I know which one you're talking about. It's worse.
Where you aim and then move to the side?
Oh no, I was thinking of a different location, so I don't know.
No, so at that spot, if you aim towards the wall, parallel, so if you aim parallel along the wall, and then turn to the right as you're moving to the right, you can actually just go over the barrier without having to jump over it.
Okay, so this is another water puzzle skip. We're just gonna jump up here, skip to the end.
Yep, super easy. Who needs puzzles when you can just climb up a rock, you know?
Okay.
Lara's doing things super inefficient.
So now we're gonna escape to this collapsing area, because we like destroying ancient buildings.
This is another one of the flashiest skips in the game.
So it's not gonna... I'm gonna be doing some parkour. Just jumping across these stepping stones.
By the way, he is technically out of bounds at this point. This is outside of the main play space.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
And since I'm out of bounds, technically, this whole area, I'm actually on a timer. And if the game thinks you're not moving, then it'll kind of count down to like... It's like basically a death timer. If you're going too slow, then you'll just die. And so since you're out of bounds, the game will think you're not moving. And so throughout that whole section that I was technically out of bounds, I had to go fast. Because the entire time, the game thought I wasn't moving, so my death counter was counting down. But if you fail that trick, it's not because you time out. You usually just fall into the water and die.
Yeah. That's always the best part, you know, when you die because a rock happens to fall into the water that wasn't there before. Yeah, so there, along the recommended or the required path, there's checkpoints that you hit that reset the timer, and the game actually is really lenient with that timer because the checkpoints are actually pretty close together. But luckily, it's just long enough for us to abuse it to be able to get back in bounds before it times out.
Okay, so this is definitely the slowest section, but after this section, then we're gonna start picking back up.
Right now, the game's turned into an auto-scroller.
Yeah, after this, it'll just be constant glitches, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, so pretty much for most runs, getting past Siberian Wilderness is the most obnoxious part of the run, because once you get past this, the run gets fun and interesting.
The run starts after Siberian Wilderness.
Okay. Got to start a fire.
Oh yes, I got the jump. I saved maybe a second.
That actually saves 2 seconds. I saved 2 seconds.
So I don't know if that's frame perfect or not, but I'm basically just spamming A.
Okay.
If I didn't jump, I would just be slowly walking like this, but for whatever reason, on a few frames, or maybe just one frame, you can just get that jump.
As far as we know, it is frame perfect. But we don't have enough information on it yet to determine realistically whether it is or not. But from continued testing, it appears to be frame perfect.
Hello, Strongbow.
You have a weapon now? Hurrah! Now we can kill things and not die.
Back to camp. Damn it.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do some menuing, and I'm going to learn how to jump roll. Because before I was just jumping and scrambling to move around fast, but the fastest way is actually to jump roll. Oops.
That's remained true since 2013. For some reason, it's just barely fast enough.
Yeah, so now I'm jump rolling.
Oh, hey, you unlocked the mode I'm going to be playing in
Shout out
4
to
hours.
Blood Ties and Genesis be running that, so stay tuned for that if you want to stay up till an ungodly hour. Like 3.
It's in 6 hours. It's in 6 hours. So yeah, it's super early in the morning when my run happens for that. But it's only 20 minutes. We're doing 100%.
I keep doing that. I keep accidentally...
You can try to skip the cutscene.
Yeah, there are some cutscenes you can't actually skip.
Well, because it's not technically a cutscene. So this is not a cutscene. It's a pre-rendered animation, is what it is. Like... Actually, I guess that's technically not... The opposite is correct. That is an animation, not a pre-rendered cutscene. You can skip the pre-rendered cutscenes. You can't skip the animations.
Say goodbye to the bear, because that's the last time we'll see him. We're supposed to fight the bear, but we're actually just going to skip it.
You're supposed to get an overpowered weapon called the poison arrows, but of course it takes super long to get and finish the requirements to get there. And so it's just much easier to progress without picking up the most broken weapon in the entire game, sans the Golden Fang.
And so this is actually the second moment of a console difference. So I'm going to be getting out of bounds a little bit differently.
Yeah, this is, so once you have, I believe it's over 80 FPS on PC, you can do a thing called upclipping. If you manage to back scramble into a vertical wall, if it's not completely vertical, and I don't know what the exact requirement is, I think it has to be slippery. Lara has a chance of actually just clipping up to the top of the surface. So on console, they can't do that, so they have to take another out-of-bounds path, as he is doing here, whereas PC gamers would just go to one of the other walls and do an upclip.
And you want to make sure you don't die. But so this is actually the first case of a wall clip. We're not clipping through a wall, we're actually going to be clipping through a tree. It doesn't really do the trick justice, because you're not really seeing what's happening, as you can tell. But there'll be much more wall clips, so don't worry.
So now he's out of bounds. As soon as he went through that tree, he was out of bounds. If you couldn't tell that jumping all these rocks that are considered background is out of bounds.
Okay. And we're about to go back inbounds. And I'm actually going to have to backtrack a little bit because we skipped some vital loads. So I can go back here. And we're headed back.
So if you don't get that quest update, this next cutscene won't load, which won't let you progress into the next section of the game. You have to get the cutscene here with... Her name is Sophia. And then this next area loads properly. If you don't get that cutscene, this area doesn't load.
So we were out of bounds, or we were back in bounds, but now we're just out of bounds because we don't like staying in bounds.
Being in bounds is slow. Come on. Why would we stay in bounds when we can go fast out of bounds? So normally this section is a stealth section where they teach you about stealth kills. Like this is where they really teach you about how to do stealth killing and kind of get through an area without attracting enemy attention. But again, we're pro gamers, we don't need the tutorials.
Okay.
Did you
So
just try to swag melee there?
I did, yeah. So also, this game doesn't have a ton of RNG, but the first case of RNG was that box that I picked up before I did that out of bounds. And so I picked up 2 cloth, and I need a maximum of 2 cloth for an upcoming fight, but because I had 2 cloth out of that crate, I had to use one of them to heal myself. And unfortunately for me, that means I'm at 1, and I'm gonna need 2 for an upcoming fight. So hopefully I'll be able to find another piece of cloth somewhere throughout the run. There are plenty of opportunities, so surely I'll be able to find one.
You know, after doing a bunch of testing with the Torzil, it actually may be that those are not completely RNG.
Oh,
We
interesting.
have to do some more examinations, but we believe that the only part of it that's RNG is the number of items that drop from the boxes, which may be up or down by 1. So it actually is fairly consistent. Also, thank you, Geeky, for the $5. They say, even numbers hype. Let's get Lara out the Opera House. Good luck with the run, Fallen Ultima.
Thank you. And so I just got an extra cloth, so we're technically good for the fight, but I'm gonna hope I get another one, just to be safe. So I'm gonna clip through these trees. And I am out of bounds. It's pretty cool with this game. There are a lot of out of bounds sections that look like they're in bounds, or they look like they could be in bounds. Like for instance, this section up here, like it's gonna look like the amount of detail out here, like that building and everything out here. It looks like it should be an inbounds area, but I'm actually out of bounds right now.
Yeah, the whole reason this area looks like there's a lot of detail here is because they have a big sweeping cutscene of this area, so this all has to be loaded in for that cutscene. Which he skipped by going through the fence earlier on.
Yeah, in case you missed it, I have been doing a few wall clips here and there. A few actual wall clips.
The wall clips happen by aiming and pointing away from the wall, then doing a back scrabble into the wall, and then turning the camera. And then, for some reason, Lara's able to just clip through walls.
We think it has something to do with the fact that aiming actually extends her hitbox. And so if you're extending your hitbox up against a wall, sometimes you can just extend your hitbox and go through. You can't clip through every single wall. That's unfortunately, so we do have limitations.
Pretty much, if her hitbox can extend through to the other side of the wall, and you push enough through the wall, it will think that she belongs on the other side, and that's how we get through the walls. It's super glitchy, but also super great because we can skip so much of the game.
Okay, so here's another slight difference of console versus PC. So the prison break skip
All the more reason to get out of
on
here.
PC, you clip out of bounds in this room, and while it's technically possible on console, it's very inconsistent and very difficult. So I'm not going to be doing it.
In fact, actually, this trick in this room that we use for PC to clip, and we had to do an upclip there. It is widely accepted by all the glitch runners that is the hardest skip in the entire game, and that they have invested more hours into doing that one upclip than they have into any other trick in the entire game.
Yeah, I've only ever done that version of the skip once, and never in a run. So
Yeah,
this is the console version. It's still kind of finicky.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time trying to do that clip myself, and I have never gotten it. I think I've invested 100+ hours into it and never gotten it. It's really hard.
And that clip right there is actually probably the hardest clip on the console run.
So for some reason, this section just has the hardest clips in the game for both respective runs. The Gulag just does not like us.
Okay, so we're gonna be entering another section that's actually part of a cutscene, so it'll be like fully rendered and looks like it'll be inbounds. So clip through these walls, and now we're actually in the middle of a cutscene area.
Also, that clip he did actually can be difficult, especially if people are starting out, because you have to clip through 2 sets of doors and not just one. So it is possible to get stuck between the doors, and sometimes that just doesn't work out very well.
That's
It made it look easy, but it's not actually super easy.
Someone just kill her. Yeah, so the thing with wall clips, they're very feel-based. Like, once you get a feel for them, like, once you start out running this, it's going to be very difficult for you, honestly. Like, it might honestly kind of be discouraging with how difficult the clips can be. But once you get a feel for them, then you'll get them, like, every single time. So, if you want to run this game, don't be discouraged if you can't get wall clips really quickly, because it does take a while to get a feel for them. But once you get them, it'll be super consistent, and you'll just fly through walls.
Well, not actually fly through, but you'll get through pretty quickly. If we could fly through walls, that'd be amazing.
Alright, so I'm just gonna hopefully pick up cloth, and I did.
Jacob,
So I have plenty of cloth for a fight coming up.
Oh, you take the slower path. Interesting.
I just wanted extra cloth, so I could heal myself if I needed to.
Understood, understood.
Okay.
Oh, now we enter another 2.5-minute auto-scroller. Oh, this part's fun. So pretty much this whole next section is an auto-scroller because there's no variation. We've actually figured out ways to clip into this area, but nothing's loaded. So nothing happens. Even if you manage to get to the end of this section, nothing happens. You actually have to go through these quest updates in order to be able to load the area properly. And the problem is, this is a 30-second swimming section, followed by a 37-second cutscene, that's then followed by another 45-second auto-scroller. So it's just not a good time. This section of the gulag is kind of really just annoying.
Oh no, Laura's about to drown. Oh.
Also, okay, I need to bring this up. Lara doesn't have the ability to breathe underwater. Her lungs are super puny. The amount of time she can actually spend breathing underwater in this game is just terrible compared to real people, and yet for some reason, when she's in absolute freezing water, comes out, or when she enters the absolutely freezing water, even though she has adrenaline running through her veins, she can hold her breath for 4 times longer than normal.
It's also pretty funny how often Lara either almost drowns or suffocates these games. Like, this is already like... just another day in the life.
Yeah, that's what it ends up being. But yeah, no. Some of the mechanics in this game are just kind of, like, really questionable. They fixed it in Shadow, though. She can actually hold her breath for a decent amount of time.
She still almost drowns every now and then, so...
Well, yeah, but that's also because we skipped the healing. We skipped the sections where she can get air. So, I mean, can you really fault her for that when it's our fault?
Okay, so coming up, we're going to do another skywalk. If you remember way back when I first got out of bounds. But this skywalk is much longer, and it'll be much cooler.
It's also much harder to control.
If you're back.
This is another trick that can cause people a lot of grief when you're getting into the game.
Also,
in fact, I can't get this trick very easily, and I've been running this game for a long time. And I still haven't gotten this trick nailed down. But I also haven't overly practiced it enough.
by the way, shout out to Baba Yaga, which...
I will also be doing later. That will be happening on Monday. Monday morning. Yeah, it's the second to last run of the marathon, so if you're interested in real creepy stuff, I got you covered there too.
Bravo hasn't run into any more resistance along the way.
Come on. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna...
You're not gonna,
which
you're
helps
not
us...
gonna go pet the cat?
Nah. I don't
Aw,
have to.
it just wants attention though.
Okay, so here comes the skywalk.
So we are very, very far out of bounds at this point. And all of the snow in this section is considered a slippery surface, which is the main reason we're able to do a skywalk across it. Even though the land looks flat, it's not. It's all considered slippery.
Yeah, you can't actually stand on any of this.
You can actually up here. You can stand on some of the rocks, but then if you do, you can actually get stuck.
So this area, we're not actually supposed to be in this area until very late in casually. So
pretty much you enter this area when you're about 70% of the way through the main story.
yeah,
And
but we're not actually
currently-
70% of the way through the run. So
Not even close. I think, yeah, we're about halfway.
a little less than halfway.
Give me 1 second. I need to step away.
Okay, so this is probably the scariest part of the run, I would say, because I'm basically going to be walking a tightrope, and if I go too far left, I'll soft lock, and if I go too far right, I'll fall into the void. So I'm going to regulate up to that, because you can actually walk on it.
Oh yeah, also, if you're on the bridge and you fall down too early, you can actually trigger a cutscene that makes you enter the area normally, and it's super slow.
So I'm going to be kind of extending my hitbox into the abandoned mines while staying out of bounds so I can actually load it. So let's see.
I hate this skip.
Got it.
I hate this skip so much.
You can see the void to my right. And if I go inbounds, then I'll soft lock. So I'm literally walking the tightrope of death and a soft lock.
So the reason he soft locks is in this section you're supposed to follow the guy named Jacob, who Lara met in the first part of the Gulag when you were trapped in the cell. And what happens is the way they make it so that you can't get in front of him is they have a bunch of invisible walls that vanish as he progresses. And because he's not walking with you in this section, because you're supposed to be following him, the walls never vanish. So if you happen to ever clip inbounds, you soft lock because you're trapped between invisible walls. You have to reload checkpoint and start the trick all over again.
Yep.
Very, very fun experience.
Okay. So that was probably one of the scarier parts of the run.
Jacob, are you there? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
that's one of the ones that it's almost as long as intro skip in how much effort you need to spend into it without screwing it up.
Oh, nice.
I actually thought you were low on that shot for the guy's arm. So for some reason that guy on the upper section has armor, but if you shoot him on like between his elbow and his shoulder, he just dies in one hit because for some reason it doesn't count as armored. And so if you shoot enemies with arrows while you're in stealth, it's always an instant kill if it doesn't hit armor. Which is a very useful mechanic.
Okay, so now I'm gonna jump on this very finicky rail. Nice. So I can skip cutting down the elevator, which you can jump on, which is what you're supposed to do, but you can just jump on that rail and jump up there quickly. So now coming up is actually the next part of console versus PC differences. So on
Also fun.
Yeah, on PC, you don't get out of bounds right here. I'm basically just going to be going underneath this whole area. If I can get out. Thank you.
Yeah. In PC, we just do an upclip out of this area because the way out of the area is blocked off right now. You don't get access to it until you get all the way through this area.
Yeah, so I'm going to be loading in a ladder, which the PC runners just skip entirely. Like, they don't need the ladder to climb up. So I, unfortunately, do need the ladder. So I'm going to skip a lot of the, the casual gameplay. And
yeah, pretty much he just skipped 2 entire encounters against enemies by doing that one trick.
And once I reload checkpoints, then the game will think I've done everything.
You have to wait for the game to give you the checkpoint here, so it registers that you're at this level of progression through the area.
So this is where PC runners just clip up the wall. They literally just go up the wall. I can't really explain it, but we need the ladder, unfortunately.
So again, you aim into the wall, do a back scramble, and for some reason with a high enough FPS, you just clip up. It doesn't make sense. Actually, realistically, it does make sense, we just don't know why it does.
So anyways, this is the halfway door, because this is the halfway point of the run. Once I go through that door, we are halfway through. And what's interesting about this door is you're actually supposed to, go to both sides and kind of knock out both sides of the door. But we've skipped the first part of the door. And to continue the game, you only need to break the second part of the door. So I'm at the second part of the door. I'm going to break it. Is that far enough? I don't know.
You need to go, if you count the steps, it's 9 steps.
I actually lost count, so...
That should work.
So yeah, we're going to break the second part of the door, and during the cutscene when I'm jumping through the door, it's going to look glitchy, because the door is going to like spaz out. It's going to like be there and not be there, and it'll look kind of funny. And also, these guys can kill you, so let's hope they don't.
Yeah, and especially in glitchless runs, you have to be really careful, because there's a lot of enemies there, and they can just shoot you from that far away and kill you during this cutscene and the next one.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when if they kill you, because you're in the middle of a cutscene as they're shooting you, and there's literally nothing.
Yeah, you pretty much have to go all the way back.
They can kill me right here, and there's literally nothing I can do.
This is all scripted movement.
I'm just gonna
Oh, it's
heal.
great. It's great when the grenade lands on the bridge and explodes as she climbs up. That's the best.
So you can see I just like jumped through the door because the game is basically confused. I didn't destroy the full door, but I can still continue.
Yeah, and the rocks happen to fall through the texture of the door, even though it's not there, so it looks really weird when the rocks just kind of settle while the door texture is still there.
Okay, so next I'm gonna do another slight difference. I believe you can do an earlier clip. Like I just went past an area where you can actually clip through to get out of bounds. I believe you can do it on console, but that's where most PC runners get out of bounds. But I'm gonna go slightly further in bounds because it's a slightly easier clip.
So for PC, the place where we clip was where the water met the staircase. You can clip out right there, and that gives you a direct shot to the end of the area. Whereas for console runners, they come here and then do a little bit of backtracking. But it's for them, it's a lot more consistent.
Yeah, it's so much more consistent.
And see, look at that, he's out of bounds. Done.
And this is where the two paths would merge. So
yeah,
back on
pretty
track.
much when he gets to the far side, which he's at right now, that's when the paths converge. And then this is the same path that the PC runners take once we get up here. Oh, nice! My fan just turned on outside.
All right, so basically, this skips probably the biggest skip in terms of casual play. This probably skips around 2 hours. Would you say that's correct?
Well, so the skip we're doing right now skips Geothermal Valley entrance. It skips the Acropolis. It skips the second part of Geothermal Valley, and it skips technically the entirety of Archives, even though we go do it anyway. Pretty much this campsite you don't get access to until you complete the flooded Archives, which is 4 areas later.
Yeah, so it's a pretty massive skip. Now,
we still go do the Archives anyway.
A downside to that skip is we can't actually continue the game. We're going to need to do a little bit of backtracking. So we've given this section of the game the unofficial name of the Reverse Flooded Archives, because we're going to be entering the Archives through the exits, because this is where you would exit and get to that campfire normally. So we're going to have to go back into the Flooded Archives, and we're going to have to knock down a statue, because for whatever reason, knocking down the statue is... well, that will allow us to continue the game.
Pretty much knocking down the statue puts you in a position quest-wise, so that once you come back towards this exit, the quest trigger will update and Jonah will actually spawn, so that you can move on to the next section of the game.
Alright, and that clip is notorious because you have to land on a very tiny ledge that's just barely out of bounds. If you don't go far enough, then you'll just stay in bounds. But if you go too far, then you'll fall into the water and you'll just have to retry it. So it's pretty nice that I got that first try. You have to be very precise with when you stop aiming and just stop moving so you can land on that ledge. So
the PC runners... Sorry. I was going to say, the PC runners clip through the other side of that room. And for some reason, it's just easier for the PC runners to do that. And it's also a bit cleaner to clip through that side.
So we're still going backwards. We're still doing the Reverse Flooded Archives.
Yeah, you would go through this. Pretty much where he just did the rope arrow climb up is where you would end up if you did the Archives normally. You would end up in that room. And then you'd have an item called the Rebreather, so you could go through that long swimming section that he skipped by going out of bounds.
Yeah, this has gone through a ton of changes recently. So, and actually coming up, there's going to be I'm going to be doing a really weird glitch, which could actually potentially soft lock if I fail.
Oh, the skip travel storage? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it looks like a wrong warp, but it's not technically a wrong warp. Basically, I'll explain it real quick before we get to it. I'm going to be entering a campfire menu during a cutscene, and during that cutscene, I'll be blindly navigating the campfire menu. And so I'm going to be going to the fast travel menu, and I'll be able to fast travel out of this area. And if I weren't able to fast travel, if I were to just watch the cutscene normally, then it would put me in an area where I literally couldn't do anything. I would be fully soft locked.
So because he skipped the Acropolis, he skipped a tool called the wire spool, which allows you to swing across gaps, and there are 2 points in the Flooded Archives escape that require you to use the wire spool in order to proceed. So because he doesn't have it, he is permanently locked in place and stuck in here.
Right, let's see if we get a barrel launch. These barrels are notorious for losing time.
Barrel memes.
Alright, that was not really a good launch. For some reason, sometimes the barrels can go flying into the air.
Oh, it's always fantastic when they do.
Yeah, but these barrels can actually lose you an insane amount of time. You'd be surprised. Like if the rope snaps for some reason, sometimes they can. For some reason, oh, whoops. That would just lose a lot of time, because then you have to go back and reattach it, and it's just awful. Okay, so, and also it's pretty interesting, because you have to actually shoot these barrels in order. Like that first barrel, if I didn't shoot that first barrel, I would have soft locked. Because again, we entered this area through the back door, and so you would come through that area, so you can shoot that first barrel normally. You wouldn't be able to shoot any other barrels. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to do a really weird glitch. So I'll just let it speak for itself.
So this skip, to give a little more information on it, is called skip travel storage. And pretty much when he issues the skip travel before the end of the cutscene, so he's in the campfire menu, as you can see on the bottom right, and then he has to skip the cutscene at the same time that he enters the skip travel menu, because what happens is the game sets up a checkpoint at the base of the statue, but whenever you stand up from a campfire or trigger an event, it automatically gives you another checkpoint. So we effectively overwrite the first checkpoint, so he spawns at the campfire, which is technically out of bounds for this section because you're supposed to be on the statue. And then because he initiated skip travel, the game sort of stores that, so the next time he stands up from a campfire, it immediately initiates the skip travel, which is hence the name skip travel storage.
Right, so I'm basically going back to the ridgeline, which is where I initially fast traveled to. So it looked really weird when that first cutscene kind of ended and I was back at that campfire. You would expect to go back to the ridgeline, which is where I'm about to go to, because that's where I initially fast traveled to. So that's why it kind of looks like a wrong warp. So I've given this the unofficial name of the not so wrong warp, because again, it's not really a wrong warp, but it kind of looks like one. So again, we have to do a little bit more backtracking again, because we're gonna have to go back to the exits of the Flooded Archives, so we can get a quest update again, under the classic quest updates.
So Jonah's supposed to meet Lara at the top of the area to move us to the next section of the game, and without Jonah being there, we can't progress. And as long as you cross onto the stone section of the Flooded Archives that he just did, the quest will update. And now Jonah will be where we need him to be.
All right, so I tried to jump onto that tree and do a few climbs on that tree, but it's a really annoying jump, so I just did a backup.
It's also a hard trick. It's not. Yeah, it's definitely not easy because you don't have a lot of room for error, and the tree itself, since it's super thin, it's hard to exactly land in the right spots. So, the fact is, that trick. I don't see you get that trick very often.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. But I mean, the backup doesn't lose that much time.
Thank you, Strongbow, for another $5.
Okay,
and
so
you're in the cutscene right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so really quickly, gonna shout out. So we are raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and they advance cures and the means of prevention for pediatric catastrophic diseases through research and treatment. And consistent with the vision of their founder, Danny Thomas, no child is denied treatment based on race, religion, or a family's ability to pay. And all proceeds that you guys are donating go straight to the hospital. So thank you, everyone, for your donations and for dropping by to view the stream.
Are you all right?
Okay.
All right, so we're back at this area where we already were, because again, we skipped that, or we visited this area, but we mentioned that this is probably about 70% of the way through a casual playthrough. So
And this is where you're supposed to receive the broadhead climbing arrows, because you're like, oh, we left a weapon stash up there. Maybe you can use some of them.
And I already
in the speedrun, we already took them and we were using them because that let us, by getting the broadhead arrows, it allowed us to do reverse archives. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't have been able to enter.
All right, so and now this is probably maybe the biggest route difference between console and PC. So I'm gonna get out of bounds a little bit sooner than what the PC route would do, and in doing so, I'm gonna skip a few more triggers than what the PC runners would do, since they stay in bounds a little bit longer. So I'm gonna have to be jumping back in bounds a bit sooner to compensate for the skipped triggers, or else I'll not be able to continue.
The reason for that is because the PC route requires an upclip in order to skip most of the next section, because for the speedrun, it's a very long and tedious continuous combat segment. And it's just not fun.
Because you can actually do the upclip on console, but it's really inconsistent and pretty annoying. Pretty much any PC strat is inconsistent on console. Some of them are straight up impossible, but you can actually do strats on console. So this is where the PC route would get out of bounds.
Yeah, so we pretty much trigger the cutscene. We get to that area, and when you go inside, there's a cutscene. They trigger that, and then once you're inside of this cave, we do an upclip out of bounds. And then we have to reconnect the camera to Lara's head because for some reason they separate. And then we are able to progress through this section. So now he's doing exactly what the PC route would do.
Except for this part. PC would actually go to the left, but again, I'm going to need to go...
You're going right?
Yeah, 'cause just due to, like, triggers being missed or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm going to put it back in bounds a bit sooner to get these triggers.
I actually don't know enough about the research-based skip because I never do it in 100%. So I don't know enough about it to really be able to give much information on it. I do notice that you're in the river now, aren't you?
Yeah, we're back in bounds, just things aren't quite loaded properly, as you can tell.
Not until you hit the cutscene trigger.
So I'm actually going to have to reload, because again, I'll still soft lock. And I'm going to actually reload twice. One reason is that I had a black screen. I couldn't explain why that happens. But sometimes the black screen doesn't happen. But I reload twice anyways, because it makes these clips a whole lot more consistent. For some reason, it does.
I think it's because on the first reload, the game doesn't load the entire area in properly. That's probably why it's still a black screen.
Good explanation. So that clip can be really annoying.
But he's out of bounds.
Yeah. And
so
now
what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stealth through five areas of enemies, or take them out. And instead, that takes a long amount of time. So instead, we're just gonna do a bunch of clips. This
is probably one of the more finicky clips.
Yeah, this is one of the clips that also isn't consistent on PC. It's slightly more consistent than console, but it's still not very consistent.
It's pretty consistent on console. It's just really weird. You have to get a feel for it. Like, it's one of those, like, each clip has their own kind of feel to it, their own little nuances. And that one especially, like, you really need to work with it to get a feel for it.
Yeah, on PC, that's only used as a backup strat if they fail the other clips. Because, so pretty much, he jumped back in bounds. For PC, we spend the entirety of research base out of bounds. We never come back in. Like, even at this point, we would still be out of bounds. And it actually looks really weird because you're jumping through trees, running along mountains. It's really strange. But we do have to come inbounds at the very end, right about here.
So this is, I'm going to enter the fight, which we call Terrible Fight, because it's not so fun. And this is actually where I needed that cloth I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to craft an explosive can, which costs 2 cloth, which is why I needed 2 cloth in the first place. And I grabbed an extra one just so I could heal myself if I need to. So on console, unfortunately, you basically can't see that guy's head. So I'm basically shooting blindly, kind of.
Yeah, this whole fight has been denoted as Terrible Fight because it is horrendous for everyone to play in. Nobody who speedruns this game enjoys this fight.
There are 2 guys alive.
There's 2? Wow, did you just miss with your can? You might have been short.
I don't know.
You lose a little bit of time off of it, but this is better than it could have been. You know?
As long as I don't die, honestly. That's really all I ask for during runs.
If you die, you have to start the entire fight from scratch, and it is definitely not enjoyable. Yeah. This whole fight sucks, no matter what kind of run you're doing, because every single one is mandatory. It's horrible. Because finishing Terrible Fight immediately teleports us back to Geothermal Valley. And that also triggers the quest update to open the next section of the game, which is the Orrery. And the Orrery, you gotta admit, is a beautiful, lovely place with a very enjoyable puzzle. Right, Fallen?
It's pretty cool, yep.
And yet, on all of the speedruns with this game, we finished the entire Orrery in about a minute. Although on PC, this is a little bit easier than it is on console. Because I think as far as I know, there's only one way to clip out of bounds on console here.
There are a few ways.
There on PC, there's 4.
I can think of... Actually, no, I can think of 3. One of them you clip into the Orrery, but you're basically at the top of the contraption. So, I mean, you still do skip it, technically.
You should try using the aim reset that I was talking to you about.
Yeah, Okay, so I'm about to do a weird jump out of bounds. It's not gonna look like
it's always fun.
So I'm gonna jump onto this rock right here.
Yeah.
And try to get behind a weird barrier. So I'm not behind it yet. Okay, there we go. So now I can jump around and fully get out of bounds.
This part is just not enjoyable. There's like 4 or 5 different ways to get out of bounds in the Orrery, and every single one of them is really, really fast compared to how long it takes to do it normally. But pretty much what they do is you fall down here, and you pretty much skip the entire puzzle, and we enter the next... This is the exit of the Orrery into the next area, which is after a really long and tedious puzzle that takes 5.5 minutes to do in glitchless, when you know how to complete it. It's not fun. The Orrery is not fun.
Alright, so in the original 2013 reboot, what are the ghost enemies? Like the Japanese warriors?
Oh, the Oni?
The Oni, yeah. Well, the equivalent in this game are the Deathless. So we're just gonna hang out with the Deathless here. What's up, guys? Just gonna... Don't mind me.
So what you're supposed to do is walk along the... or, like, do a, like, wall hugging... Like, you're climbing along the base there, but here we're doing a trick called aerodynamics, which allows us to get out of bounds through that section. Also, this gives you the wire spool, right? You have it now?
I like it. Yeah, jump... that XP I just got, it gives me the wire spool, or grapple, or whatever it is.
It's called the wire spool.
Right.
Because that allows you to chuck your grapple axe.
Right.
And also, that is mandatory to finish the game. And
yes.
For some reason, when you pass this section, the game double checks that you have it so you can complete it, but it doesn't double check in the archives. For some reason.
Alright, and coming up, we're going to do a little bit of more...
Oh, you're doing Ice Age, right?
Yeah. Alright, this is a pretty cool route, actually. It's a... I'm basically
Ice Age is pretty cool.
It's also probably the hardest section in the game. Like, overall. Please go. This is going very slow for some reason. Alright, so...
Yeah, she just didn't want to cross there.
You can actually just do this, and just jump out of bounds.
So you have to cross... You have to get onto that bridge without Lara clipping to it, and entering that... Oh, I'm crossing on a tightrope animation. If she enters that animation, you have to try it again. Because you can't jump far enough out of bounds when she's like that to get to this area. Precarious jumps right there. So this is the difference right here. So on PC, you would just go straight up when you're clipping through this. But we have to go underneath. And hopefully I don't... So, PC runners do an upclip there, and that puts us right where we need to be later on. But console has to find an alternative method to get to the same area. And they go low, whereas PC goes high.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I just figured out this route not too long ago.
I just realized you're completely underneath the map. Like you're not even walking along the bottom of the wall. You are just actually going completely at the bottom of the map.
Yeah, this is a very new route, and this is actually much more consistent than what I used to do. So what we used to
fire hurt you?
No, it doesn't. We used to do a weird ghost walk where the camera separates from Lara's character model. And so, as Lara is ghosting up into the cliffside, the camera gets stuck down. So you're basically just blindly walking up top. And you're gonna have to basically work around with it. I can't even really explain how the trick works, but you disassociate the camera from Lara's character model. You go...
If you clip Lara through a wall that's thick enough, the camera won't follow her, and that's why it separates. At least that's my understanding.
And it's even hard to explain how to do the trick. Like, honestly,
it only works in specific places.
Yeah, I'm not the person to ask. How do you do this trick? I'm just like, you walk into the wall.
Yeah. So when I was talking about having to reconnect the camera with Lara, that's what we do for the uplift and research base. I actually did not know that had a name.
Yeah, so that route I just did is way more consistent than doing what I used to do with that ghost walk.
Ghost walks aren't fun.
Yeah, they're not. Alright, so we're entering the final stretch of the game.
Do you think you can stop them?
The best we can do is buy you some time. I'll see you on the other side.
And coming up, we're actually going to do the final skywalk of the game. There's only 3 in the game, and the 3rd one is coming up.
The Chamber of Souls. The Divine Source has to be
There's the finale right up there. So close.
Yeah. The Chamber of Souls is the last area of the game. We are really close. I believe if you have all the collectibles up to this point, you hit 85% completion with the game. So you're getting real close to the end. I believe there's only about 10% of story left.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and for speedrunning, it's probably 3 or 4%.
The deathless are patrolling the streets. Got to stay out of sight.
Alright, so there's the gate to Katesh, the lost city. Unfortunately, it's going to close on us just as we make it. We're supposed to use the trebuchet to destroy it, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to do a classic wall clip and just go through it.
Also, on that fence, or on that gate in particular, you can only clip through that one side. If you try to do the other side, there's an invisible wall that pushes Lara away from it.
So here comes the final skywalk.
Yeah, he's almost finished. He's about to go to the final approach of the game. Like,
the city is still standing.
Just skipped the last 3 areas completely.
Yeah,
no research base, no orrery, no path to the deathless. Just all gone, pretty much.
So yeah, coming up is a very scary trick, which is what Jap is talking about. I'm going to be going up through a death plane, and for whatever reason, death planes don't recognize you if you're going up through them. But obviously they work if you're falling into them. So this wall coming up, I'm going to be going underneath a death plane, so I can jump up through it, but if I fall into it, then I'll die, obviously.
I used to do the trick like this, but I don't do it anymore. I use a completely different route that takes a little bit longer, but is like 100,000 times safer because it's impossible for you to die. Whereas on this one, if you jump slightly incorrectly, you hit the death plane that's right here.
Yeah.
Like, you jump through the death plane. If you lose even a little bit of height, game instant kills you and you gotta start over.
I literally lost a world record run a few days ago to that trick.
That's why I don't use it. It's too... I'm too scared to do it again, because I've had too many good attempts die to that, and I don't want to risk that again.
That arrow didn't work. Okay, so coming up, I'm going to do a very exciting trick that has never been done in a speed or in a Rise run before. We mentioned skywalking, but we haven't mentioned airwalking yet. So it's kind of like skywalking in a way, but I'm basically just going to be walking on thin air instead of...
This is what the PC runners use to get out of bounds for intro skip. By exiting to menu and coming back in. This is the thing where we can roll and maintain most of the height that we have, but we decay height as we proceed.
Alright, so here comes the exciting trick. It's a frame-perfect trick, by the way. God Gamer.
It's frame perfect, but you can get false positives on this trick if you're plus or minus 1 frame on either side. You can get a false positive.
First try, God Gamer.
Oh my god.
Told you it's easy.
Yeah, that's what you say. Oh, you're not doing the extended one?
That's the hardest. That's the hard part of the trick right there. When you just
you're not gonna do the extended airwalk?
So I'm basically just gonna be jumping across. I didn't get it yet. But you can do the full airwalk across, but you lose so much height. It's actually not efficient at all. Because you're slowly falling as you're walking on thin air, so I'm gonna walk around here, and you're supposed to get all the way to this ice wall. And you can actually do the full airwalk all the way to this wall, but again, you lose so much height. You cut it really close. Also, I forgot to do the re-aim. They maybe
if you re-aim, it's only works with the bow, but if you fire an arrow, drop aim, and then reapply it, Lara will instantly knock a second arrow.
Yeah.
Whereas, otherwise, you have to wait for her to pull another arrow out and knock it. Whereas if you just drop the aim and reapply it, you instantly have another arrow knocked.
Alright. And now we're just gonna jump up these walls.
Oh, you did the thing where the camera got stuck. I love doing that because it's like you get up there faster than you normally do. Like if the camera gets stuck low, that means you climb that section super efficiently, and I think you actually save like a second if the camera gets caught there because it's one less Lara doing the climb up, the slow climb, whereas you're doing the jump climb, which is much faster.
All right, so unfortunately, those are all the out of bounds we're gonna do. So the rest is all gonna be inbounds and a few more fighting sections.
Yeah, he didn't take the, or recently it was discovered that you could actually go all the way to the end of this next section that he's doing from where he did that first, where he did the airwalk. On PC, it's possible for you to go all the way to the end.
Unfortunately, it's not possible on console because for some reason, I mentioned that you lose height as you're airwalking. It's true on PC as well, but for some reason on console you just lose way more height, way faster.
For some reason, it's directly related to your frame rate. The lower your frame rate is, the more height you lose, and we have no idea why that is. And it only applies to airwalking. It's super weird. Again, it makes sense for some reason, we just don't know what it is. I also only just now noticed the game gave you pistol ammo.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I've never noticed that before. It's so that they guarantee that you have a full clip for this section, so you can't soft lock if you have an empty pistol.
I remember a video a long time ago, probably around when this game came out, where it was a really funny video of a guy who soft locks because he had no pistol ammo right there, and you can't go back. So
yeah, as soon as you throw up the axe, Lara gets a checkpoint.
All right, so this is what we call death run because this is where the run dies.
Yeah, you have a very high chance of dying here. Also, Lara's holding the pistol still. What? I've never seen that before.
I've seen it work. It's pretty funny.
I've done it with the Golden Fang once, but not in a section like that. That was really weird. I've never seen her hold the pistol like that.
So you
oh my god, you were one hit from death there.
Yeah. And I'm still not out of the woods yet. You can actually get shot off of this ice wall. So if you take shot off.
Yeah, if you take damage, Lara instantly drops off of the wall. So you have to be really careful because they can still shoot at you. As long as you're jumping, you actually can't screw that. You can't fall off. And when you're at this wooden ladder section, you're good. And now, it's time to start the final boss fight against Constantine.
Alright, so we're supposed to shoot these fireballs. This first one that I'm about to shoot, you're not technically supposed to shoot it, but you can anyways. So let's see if
the game doesn't expect you to, but you are able to.
Normally, it's a slow motion thing, so it's like really hard to miss. But that one, since you're not expected to hit it, there's no slow-mo, so it's a pretty kind of tough shot, not really.
And if you miss that shot, you actually lose 30 seconds if you miss it. It's super punishing if you don't get it.
So now, I'm standing on top of infinitely spawning grenade arrows, so I can just spawn kill these guys with a very overpowered weapon.
Also, it's important to note that these grenade arrows only spawn if they're off camera and you've used all the arrows that you picked up from that from that quiver.
Ouch! I got shot. So I'm gonna
It's hit with a fire arrow. Like I don't see any more enemies.
So I'm gonna reload checkpoint just because it kind of makes the chopper path a little bit more consistent, and it also despawns all of the enemies that were.
Oh yeah, some extra enemies actually spawn in between phases that you have to deal with, whereas if you reload checkpoint, they don't spawn. You get a good pattern? Oh, you didn't get a good pattern. So here, Constantine has a 50% chance of flying across the map, but he also has a 50% chance of moving into a really perfect position where he won't fly again. And there, now you got the good. So he'll stop, he can stop there on the first flyby, but if you get really unlucky, I know one of my attempts had him fly towards me 3 times in a row. It was horrible. I think each of those flies loses something like 15 or 20 seconds. It was a good chunk of time. I love just seeing the guys just all over the place.
Oh, how did that guy survive?
Because I think he was already up on top instead of down below when you tried to shoot him.
Oh, okay. We'll just end the phase anyways. Yeah, this fight's kind of weird.
And now on to the third phase of the helicopter fight, which this part sucks.
You're supposed to wait for Sophia to fire another fireball, but you can actually just use these grenade arrows, and it takes 5 to kill it.
You can hit him with the grenade arrows in every single phase. It's just most effective to use them in the last phase because Sophia takes forever to load the trebuchet.
And that was a perfect
Nice.
shot.
You actually got a really good quick kill at the end there. Usually he would have moved by then.
Alright.
So we're not out of the woods yet. Constantine isn't dead yet.
Nope. Shocker. So we really don't have any weapons. Skip all the weapons pretty much.
Yeah, he skips the shotgun, the assault rifle, and the poison arrows. And the poison arrows would one-hit kill these enemies. But he skipped by all of them, so the only things he has access to are the regular arrows, the grenade arrows, and the pistol.
And luckily,
as well as apparently stealth kills.
If you lure these deathless underneath these lanterns, it's really effective.
Greek Fire is an instant killer for the deathless, which is fantastic. Greek Fire is really, really good. Oh, he's burning already, so you got him. Also, it does a lot of damage to Lara.
Constantine's alive. So again, we're resource limited. So we're gonna have to do some AI manipulation to get him to turn around so we can stab him in the back.
You have no weapons.
Just like that. And then one more time.
So yeah, you just have to stab him in the back twice. Even though he did that to you a lot during the run.
My destiny lies in
And if you do it twice, then you just win.
We'll just do this little... Oh, that's not good at all.
Oh, you got a bad pattern? Oh, that's really bad.
Actually, it worked out.
stronger than your father ever.
Maybe?
He never would have made it.
Yeah. Okay, that was fine.
Alright, let me know when to stop the timer, by the way.
Yeah, so time's gonna come up as soon as I enter the doors to the Chamber of Souls.
Remember, I'm not on the same pace you are. So just let me know when.
Yep.
Just as soon as the cutscene starts once you're through the door.
Yep.
Then I'll stop.
All right. And
Also,
is dead. Just shoot him in the.
One thing that's funny is if you just walk away, he just burns to death. Which actually, I have a bid war going on right now about whether I should kill him or let him burn in my 100%.
And time is now.
108:32.9.
Cool.
Your men
Not
Finished
too
7
bad.
minutes under estimate, or 6.5. So that was good.
I took into account the estimate for the crash at the start because that crash is actually pretty common. It's like, I don't know how common it is, but it happens quite often. So I was really expecting to lose like 2 minutes just to that because you have to deal with console loads, and yeah, that wouldn't have been very fun. So yeah, it's very nice. A 108.35 is very solid. That's that's a little less than 2 minutes off of world record, so that's pretty good.
I can't
Wait,
Not
really?
too bad. Yeah, I was a minute.
Oh
30
yeah, yours is 107 actually,
suffering.
almost on the nose.
Yeah, so I was a minute 36 behind on my personal splits that I was watching.
Together. The cost is too
So, yeah.
high, Anna.
Still
Very
definitely a good run.
We
Yeah,
are
very
meant
good
to
for,
live forever. Death is a
marathon.
Most of the tricks went your way almost
That's easy
immediately,
for you to say.
Yeah,
You're
so
not
that was
the one
actually
who's
like really
dying.
good.
only a few big mistakes, but whatever.
This isn't about you. This is about
It's all right.
humanity,
Well, that
about
was,
protecting what it
good
means
run.
to be human.
And now the very long ending
They're
cutscene
coming.
plays,
We're
where
surrounded.
Anna tries to give herself eternal life, and then Lara destroys it and kills all the rest of us.
Spoilers.
We're gonna see this like 3 more times, okay?
It's not meant for the world.
Oh, we're gonna see it 1 more time, but I'm gonna skip it.
This is your chance, Lara. Everything
All right.
you've done,
Blood Ties is a
everything
different
you've
ending,
done.
and Wicked Veil doesn't
Another
reach the end of the
Croft
game.
doesn't have to die for this, but I'm willing to.
Do we really want to watch this cutscene, or?
No, not. I mean, we have time.
Yeah, we've got
But-
a couple of minutes yet.
We've got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, we'll watch it. Why not?
Well, I'm not.
Just let it play.
We have 7 minutes, including 5 minutes to set up,
Please.
so
I'm
should be
dying.
just about
This
on
is
time.
Yeah. So definitely a run you could be proud of.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the reverse Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, she gives herself eternal life instead of taking eternal life.
And unfortunately, destroying this will kill the best character in the game, besides Lara.
You really like Jacob? He's so obnoxious.
He's the Jesus of Tomb Raider. Of the-
Literally. He's the prophet.
He literally is a prophet.
Yeah. Jacob is almost as bad as Constantine, in my opinion. It goes Constantine, Jonah, and Jacob in terms of least favorite characters. Only because Jacob literally gets in our way during both Abandoned Mines and freaking Gulag.
And that's why you just do the out of bounds.
Jacob,
I mean,
hold on.
even in the out of bounds, because the invisible walls are there, he gets in your way. If the invisible walls weren't there, we wouldn't soft lock, but we'd actually like be slowed down a little bit. But no, because the invisible walls are there, we actually soft lock, all because of Jacob's existence. So I 100% blame him.
Oh my God.
This actually happened during Infinity War. Thanos snapped him. So
Yeah, no, this isn't. So her destroying the divine source isn't actually why they all died. It's because Thanos decided to snap.
that's the lore.
My ending.
It's officially canon.
I'm sorry. All I wanted was to make a difference.
You already have.
It was the only way.
So the nice thing is, if you want to see all the rest of the areas in 100%, we tackle every single area. I don't actually think we skip Ori.
My dearest
We do
love,
every area except Ori.
I often think about how my
'Cause
father
Ori
would
is
turn over in his
garbage.
grave if he knew
So
the
you'll,
evil I brought upon
if
our
you watch
family.
Genesis 100% run, you'll see a lot more of this game. This game is really good casually, so you'll see a lot more of that. More of
Especially 100%. Like, even 100% speedrun is super fun.
yeah, you
like-
you see. There's again, we skipped a ton of the game, so all the things that we did skip are still really cool. So
And they're all still really broken.
yeah, if you have the time, I would definitely try to make the time to watch Genesis's 100% run.
Don't worry, it's only 4.5 hours of real time. Intro is going to be practically identical to Fallen's, except I'm going to use a different strategy to get out of bounds. And then Syria's a little different, but I use most of the same tricks, actually. I think I use all the same tricks that you did.
I have to make my own. The myth of Katesh.
Yeah, actually, I use another trick on that one pillar that we should be able to wall climb, but we do.
Not for my father.
And
not for
yeah,
anyone else.
actually.
Trinity
So the beginning of the game is practically identical to yours.
Yeah,
almost.
It gets really fun in Siberian Wilderness when we have to do the entire area.
Yeah. See, I'm patiently waiting for the new Tomb Raider movie that should be coming out soon. That's based off of
yeah, they said they were doing that, weren't they?
that has been greenlit, supposedly.
Is it based off Rise or Shadow?
I mean, it should be based off Rise.
But they combined Rise and 2013 in the movie.
Credit scene.
Yeah, go to the post credits. We'll watch that and then we'll do the transition. Because this is another very short cutscene, and this immediately leads into Shadow. Pretty much immediately after this event occurs is what prompts Lara to take on what she does in Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
What did you mean by that?
Which there will be 100% run, or not 100%, sorry, any percent
My father didn't.
of Shadow. So I would
Yeah,
recommend.
that'll be my nerd sometime tomorrow.
Execution.
I don't remember exactly when.
I'll be honest, Shadow casually is probably my favorite of the reboot trilogy.
Yeah, but Shadow speedrun is terrible.
It's done.
Which is why
Oh
they're
my god.
What about?
Yeah, he's running it glitchless, so you're not going to get to experience how absolutely terrible the game speedrun is for any percent. Pretty much, Rise and is like, wow, we do a lot of different kinds of tricks throughout the entire run. 2013 is, wow, we do the same kinds of tricks, but they're significantly harder. In Shadow, we only use one trick for the entire run. It's terrible. Anyway, thank you, Fallen, for your run.
Tomb Raider. It was fun.